And coming up next, I'll be sharing with you the 10 most in-demand skills that you must have for 2024. These things will keep you in a job, they'll keep you wanted by everybody, and guarantee that if you get your brand right, you'll be employed for a much longer time in the future. What are they? Find out next on Speak on Stage. So welcome back to the show. I am not gallivanting, traveling, nothing. I've had some amazing things in the last couple of weeks that were just exciting, great events. I've got some great stuff coming up, and I'll share with you exactly what I'm going to be doing about that in a little bit later in the show. But just now, it's important to share with you what you need to be considering for the next month and beyond. That's going to be the 10 most important skills that you need to have for 2023. Now, as always, what I suggest you do is let me know who you are, where you are. Connect with me on social media. Ask questions, tell us where you are, get interactive. And if this is of use to you and your friends, there's a ton of value in sharing it. So the people that follow you, connect with you, will then watch it and see you as a very valuable source of connection. This is a really important point. I'll tell you exactly why it's so important as we progress with this show. But meanwhile, I hope you're ready to make some notes. Hope you're ready to get your head in that space. And I hope you're looking forward to the solution to all your problems, or at least a fair chunk of them, that's going to come from Speak on Stage. So, let's look at the 10 most important skills of 2024. Now, what I want to do is look at how you use these skills. We're not going to concentrate too much on that this session, but with the next episode, we'll go more in depth about what you need to do to create that impact so people can find you and want to work with you. But for right now, let's just look at the skills that you're really going to need to have. Does that make sense? Yes, Dave? Good. Oh, by the way, if you're just watching the show for the first time and we're going out live, then if you send me a question or you say stuff, and I will interact with you if I can. If not, then I will interact with you when the replay is on, which means it gets played a couple of times on LinkedIn and YouTube and Facebook. Then I will add comment to your comments. So don't think you're being ignored when you say hi or how's it going or you ask a question. I will come back to you. But the nature of repeating the show means that you might be talking to the show and not me, but I will check it and come back to you. Does that am I making good? All right, in that case, let's get straight into it. So I'm going to be talking about why it is you need to have lots of different ways of reaching your audience and what that means in a little bit of the show. But first, let's get straight into it. This is Speak on Stage. If you've not caught the show before, then go to Spotify, Apple iTunes, or any other place where you normally get your podcasts and subscribe. So that means that every time we got a fresh new show, you will catch it. Catch a blog and Speak on Stage as well. Everything you need to know is on there. It's your one-stop shop for greatness in the communications industry, Speak on Stage. Right. Also, we have our special course. In case you didn't know about this, we've got a community of almost 400 people now on WhatsApp. And every month I go through a ton of different things. So I go and teach some skills. The ones I'm teaching right now are all about your omni-channel. And you're wondering, what does that mean, Dave? Well, it's how to dominate with your new skills in 2024. So it's almost like, imagine that this course is like having a companion piece, right, to the stuff that's going on in the show. The two mixed together. So while you're watching this and going, what do I do? There's 400 people inside my WhatsApp group who are going, we know exactly what to do because Dave's going to spend 5 days going through all the different skills. And guess what? It's completely free to be part of that community. So what do you do to join us? Simple. Get your phone out like this. Depends on what phone you have. Other ones are also appreciated. Hold it up, get the QR code, and just request to join. And I'll let you in unless you're a psycho or a serial killer. Or why we don't want to stab Weetabix is beyond me, but there you go. So we've started the new course today, as of when you see this going out live, but we may let you in over the next couple of days. Every single part of it is really useful, and there's an incredible community of global decision makers from all levels. We've got business owners, we've got multimillionaires, we've got royals, we've got celebrities, we've got a whole range of incredible people, and people just with a normal job who want to upgrade their skills and move on. And as we move on, let's go on with this. Welcome to the show. I've been talking for 4 minutes. My name is still davecrane, unless you've got a better idea, in which case don't put it down anywhere or I will sue you. All right. So here's the most 10 in-demand skills of 2024. Now, before I start this course and share this with you, these were put together by a gentleman called Bernard Marr, who you should find on YouTube. Very smart futurist who talks about tech and how things come together. And so it is a very tech-driven list, but at the same time, it makes a lot of sense. So Bernard Marr, he's a Forbes contributor and a very smart guy. Well worth checking out his other videos and his interviews. Brilliant stuff. All right, so let's get back to it. So what's first on the list? Generative AI. What's that, Dave? Why is it different from an AI? Artificial intelligence, as you already know, is the ability to have an algorithm in a computer working with long language format, able to interpret what you need and give you answers back and design pictures and all sorts of incredible stuff. Well, your ability to work with that, to be a prompt engineer and to create stuff super fast is what every company is looking for. That's probably top of the list, actually, to be honest with you, or one of the major things that people are going to be looking for, because it's going to bleed into so many different kinds of industries as well. Next on the list is sustainability skills. Now, you may have come across COP28, which is happening in the UAE, and lots of other amazing things around the world. People are now paying attention to sustainability. Many people have realized that the world needs us to stop burning stuff and putting stuff out into the ocean and into the sky that is killing us. Many people don't, but at the very least, what we need to do is get the awareness so people do a bit more with what they have and make it last a little bit longer before it goes out and starts doing some damage. So sustainability is something that's also a buzz term in every industry. So often what people will look for is to work with a company or to employ people who have sustainability skills and AI skills. Certainly when I've been doing my speaking rounds and going on to big conferences and speaking to companies, the remit for what they're looking for is somebody who includes sustainability and AI in their presentation. So it's a really important skill to have. If you don't know about it, get yourself up to speed with it. Get onto YouTube, connect and follow leaders in the sustainability space, and you'll be able to get there a lot faster. Project management. What does that mean, Dave? Well, you should know it's an age-old way of getting things done, but the difference is it includes using software, stuff like Slack, and using remote teams. So you might not necessarily go back to the office, and many people will never go back to the office. In fact, to be honest with you, many of the people that I work with, many of my clients, many of my suppliers, and many of my crowdsourced activity producers, I may never see face-to-face, but that doesn't stop us having an incredible relationship by jumping online like this or being able to relate and get things done. So your ability to drive a project is not just the old way of having an office full of people and pointing at them and giving them tasks to do, micromanaging, or even being a servant leader. It's really about your understanding of getting the project finished, getting the results done, and getting the best out of everybody. So when they talk about you, and we talk about the company, and we talk about the project, they're able to do so in a way that everyone turns around and says, we need to get you in as well. That's a really important part of communication. Now, communication is really important. I will mention communication many times because that's my particular expertise. But if you think about it, generative AI is actually very close to doing hypnosis. Have I talked to you about hypnosis before? I think I have. If you haven't seen me talk about hypnosis, then I did a show recently on the QE2, and it was just an incredible event, and everybody laughed their heads off and loved it. I'm trying to see now if I can find the link for it, which is, wait for it, it is, we'll have a look at one of these. Big shakes, big shakes. Oh, sexy dancing. All the dancing you can do. So good. A one, a two, a 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, yes. Right, go down, straight up there. Go down stage. There you go. Oh, look at that sexy feeling dancing. Oh, look at that. 100%. So good. So good. bring it back. That's hypnosis, by the way. There's not a lot of difference really between prompt engineering, which is what you use to get computers and algorithms and software and coding to do things for you, and actually just programming people through hypnosis and NLP. There's a huge correlation between it. And so I practice that and I show people exactly what it means when I do my live shows. Communication is essential for generative AI. It's also essential to be able to tell people about sustainability and what they need to be able to do. And of course, project management is all about the person who's central, who's able to contact and talk to everybody else. So that gets on to the next skills, communication skills. Now, here the thing is, I'm not going to be talking about communication skills per se, because the mistake that people make when they talk about communication skills, it's not just about public speaking. It's about every single level. Now, this is what we're working on our WhatsApp group. So if I share with you the WhatsApp group once again, so you can come and join us inside it. Where has it gone? I can't find it. It's disappeared completely. We'll never find out where it is. Anyway, the WhatsApp group, and I'll show you at the end. Anyway, regardless, so you can see how to join us. We're teaching people how to find your voice, how to then get your sustainable message and your signature message on who you are and what you do, and then elevate it. We'll be talking a bit more about that in today's program, but it's really important. That's why I need to join a WhatsApp group. So rewind this video and get the QR code and request to join. Communication skills at the center of everything, in my opinion. All right, next up, clinical health scare. Health scare? Whoa, Freudian slip there. Clinical health care skills, he said, putting his teeth back in. There we go. Why is that so important? Well, because ultimately your ability to be a doctor or a nurse and have hands-on treatment of people is something that only comes from being hands-on and getting experience and getting trained. Now, don't get me wrong, the ability to be a doctor to diagnose people is actually being replaced, not completely, but it's being matched in tests by ChatGPT. I'm not saying to you, and let me just reiterate this, I am not saying don't go to a doctor. Cross-reference a doctor with what you read on ChatGPT if you need to, but don't do anything with yourself until you've got a proper professional opinion. Why? Because you can't sue ChatGPT. You get a doctor. But I understand why it's so expensive as well, why people would say, let me find a different way of doing it. So as the concept of RoboDoc, which is something about my friend Michio Kaku, who I met last week, we're working together in Misk in Saudi. He talked about the idea of a RoboDoc and a robo-lawyer, which would mean that once something happens, your phone tells you, right, therefore, I've got your medical history here, so I can cross-reference what your injury is, and I can alert an ambulance to come to you and also send details through to the hospital so they know how to treat you. That is coming anyway. But ultimately, even though the surgeons can be driven by AI surgery, you're still going to have nurses who are mopping your brow and wrapping stuff up and putting stuff in buckets. I don't know how it works. I'm clearly not a surgeon. And that is going to need to have real people. So back on the list again, clinical healthcare skills are super important, even though the whole process could be cheapened, please, for everybody, and also sped up and more effective than just paying somebody a fortune to go, take some tablets. What kind of tablets? Mints. Mints? Are they going to fix anything? No, but they'll make you think that you're being fixed, and eventually you'll be fixed anyway. So next, come over next, please. Oh, that's 200 quid. Next. Okay, not all doctors like that. Okay, none of them. Just in case you're the one that says. Right, data skills. The interpretation and the ability to turn around and understand what data is saying and data is doing is super important. And it's almost like being an interpreter. Somebody can look at the details of what's happening in an organization or what's happening after some events taken place or some sale or some transaction or some algorithm, and then choose what happens next. These are essential skills that may be replaced by AI, because of the actual gathering of stuff will be replaced. Same as accounting in many cases, but you still need people to overview and use their skills and knowledge of what that really means to do something with it. Somebody you can rely on. So data skills are always important. Next up, interpersonal networking. What does that mean, Dave? Yeah, if you need to ask about networking and meeting people, then you really are not very good at it. That's what it is, networking and communication. But it's not just about the ability to go to networking events. It's having a group of people around the world. Why do you think we created this incredible list of people in my WhatsApp group? So when you need somebody, just like our game changers, just like our industry icon people, when you need a really high level person to give you some advice, who's got your back and will be there to help you for free even, and give you advice and connect you with people that they know, that's massively important. Now, here's one of the things that I think so fascinating about that particular challenge. So many people now don't like talking to other people. Why? Because they prefer to talk to their device. I'll text you later on. Okay. Did you look up? No, I didn't look up. Just look at the phone. Please go. And the next generation, and I know this from my gorgeous daughter, Maya, who's 13 years old, very, very good at talking to people, but the majority of people her age would prefer to use a phone involved in that conversation. Doesn't mean they won't talk as well, but it does mean they feel more comfortable connecting. And it also makes sense because globally they're connected to people. Now, it's a beautiful thing when their friends leave and go to a different country or go on vacation or whatever, because then you can have people that you connect to all around the world. But it also means that you don't really like to talk to people, which is a massive mistake and something I've worked really hard to change by joining various business groups and attending lots of events in person, because after the pandemic, I spent a lot of time, and as an introvert, I kind of like not connecting to people, a lot of time not meeting people face to face. And it's not because I want to sell to them. Some cases I do, some cases I don't. It's just human connection is really important. So that skill is massive. And I remember reading about millennials, and you might be Gen Z or millennials, so you may pick up on this anyway, but saying that two of the biggest phobias by millennials is when you have to meet somebody face to face, because it's like, oh my goodness, what do I do? And also if the doorbell rings. What do you mean by if the doorbell rings? Well, think about it. If the doorbell rings, then it's not one of your friends because they would have told you were coming around. It's somebody else. So it's like speaking in the wild. And it's actually called that, to connect to somebody without using a device. And for many people, that's a big scary thing. I can understand why. All right, next up is this. So interpersonal networking, very important, is cloud computing skills. Your ability to manipulate what goes on in the cloud and also data and algorithms and place everything there. That's an ongoing basis. I remember years ago, I was hosting a conference about cloud computing, and everyone said, no, we need hard drives. We want to use USB sticks, and we want to use big data centers that need all the cooling. They're very expensive. And then somebody said, no, put it in the cloud. Don't trust it. Now almost everything's in the cloud. And you just have your little USB as a just in case, but at the same time, it's much faster and much easier to share documents, to share software, to share projects with people around the world and get them just to create it as a digital format to connect with you. So cloud computing skills are massive still. Okay, machine learning engineering, the ability to then use all this stuff with machines and to get it out there. That is a skill that most people, clearly not me, I have no idea what it is, but I don't do it. Machine learning, I know that lots of people are coders and so on, and so this is important for them. And last but not least, cybersecurity skills. Now, here's the thing. Cybersecurity is going to get worse and worse and worse. Why? Simply because AI is going to be involved in it. And as fast as you can try and protect your stuff, AI will come up with weird and wonderful ways of hacking your system and pretending to be a human being and doing all sorts of... Look at social media, how many people use bots and so on. I mean, not real, but they get massive views, massive responses, and so on and so forth. So cybersecurity is a huge problem. People who are really skilled in it won't just include super experts, it's going to include everybody. Because I've mentioned this before on the show, and I don't know if you remember, but do you know the number one place for hacking? The weakest part in any organization that gets hacked more than anything else. Now, I'm going to throw it out there. You can write your comments if you've got time to write it. If not, you just do what you normally do, which is go, tell me, I've got a biscuit. Here it is. People think it's the software. It's not the software. Software is usually amazing and it can stop things happening. It's brilliant. Then say it must be the hardware, must be the ability to do what we do in war games. And that's not a spider, by the way. It's me typing on a typewriter. But if I put a typewriter down here, it just looks like I'm playing piano. But if I put up here, it looks like I've got Tyrannosaurus, like Tyrannosaurus Rex's. Forget it, right? Typing on software and hardware is not the hackable bit. What's a hackable bit? People. Going up to somebody who works for a company and saying, I'll give you $10,000, $100,000, $1 million to give me all the passwords so I can get my team to come in the back of it. Why should people do that? Because people want money and because they're not being paid enough to be geeks and because they're bored or because of lots of different reasons. But that's the most hackable part of every company. And so the ability to protect that and to understand it and look after your cybersecurity is massive. And if you're saying, Dave, where do I start? Start by looking at your people and making sure they're all happy. And here's another factor. Did you know that if you pay more money to your team to stop them hacking, it's not necessarily what will keep the geeky people from hacking? It's not the money that drives them. What is it, Dave? You said, or you didn't really say at all. It's actually boredom. If you gamify the process of cybersecurity, then it becomes more fun. And here's a warning, and you can Google it to find out. For many of the younger generation, and I mean 8-year-olds, hack big systems for fun as gaming, and they play stuff. So nothing is safe, but your ability to understand this will be really useful for you. So why do those skills have a big shift? Why is it changing so much right now? Well, lots of things have happened. First of all, AI, as I've mentioned, AI in everything. AI with your breakfast, AI with your dinner, AI with your cup of tea before you go to sleep. AI is really dominating across the board, and if you're not using it or integrating it, then you may end up being pushed out by it. But if you are aware of it, then you just shift and pivot and you should be fine. You should be able to do much more stuff with AI helping you, and your business becomes a much bigger business because you're not doing any of the boring, heavy task of lifting stuff, figuratively lifting, not actually physically lifting, because your AI will do all the boring stuff for you. Okay, AI and other technological advancements. All these are making a big difference. That's why our list is so techie orientated. But also comfort zones. What does that mean, Dave? Why comfort zones? Because people don't change. They like it to be easy. That's why they stay where they are. Get out of your comfort zone. Do stuff that's difficult and challenging for you. Why is that important? Let me tell you exactly why it's so important. Because here's the thing, and this is a fact. When you look at a 2% mindset, 2% of the population are outside of a comfort zone. They're going for dreams. They're getting confidence. They're exploring new things. They choose to have happiness in their life. They get excited. They get worried and they have fear, but they conquer it anyway. Sounds like a book. And they get the most out of life. Most people don't. 98% just want a secure job so they can carry on watching TV and their life can be dull but manageable, play it safe and so on. Now, there's nothing wrong with either of those apart from the fact that in a world of massive change, your comfort zone is probably going to end up being your prison, and it all disappears when a new thing comes into shade and change your industry. What happens is your comfort zone's like that, but where was AI in people's comfort zones? Didn't exist. Then the magic happens over here. If you're staying where you are, you won't understand how to fix it and move with it and do something about it. That's what most people have to deal with. And so that's why it's so important to be able to think about doing something else. That's why I always talk about doing this, jumping and growing wings or whiskers, growing whiskers on the way down. It looks great if you're Wolverine from the X-Men, but terrible if you're a bikini model, unless you're Wolverine in a bikini. That's a thought I don't want to keep. So it's a blue ocean strategy versus red ocean strategy. Let me explain that before we go too far into our own little rabbit hole of conversations. Blue Ocean Strategy, brilliant book. The idea is that the world is full of red oceans, which is like everyone's competing against each other, stabbing everybody in the back and trying to be successful. And so the oceans run red with blood and entrails and bleh. But the idea is find your own blue ocean where you can be dominant and be the best at what you do. And when you do that properly and do it really effectively, and you don't smack your microphone with the mouth guard thing, then you get the best results of it. Does that make sense so far? Are you with me? So you want to have a blue ocean strategy and keep being uncomfortable until that becomes a comfort for you. And that way, if you keep evolving, you'll do better than anybody else. So go back to our list. Comfort zones. Next up, changing skill demands. As we mentioned, things are changing so quickly that if you've got a certain task that you do really, really well, and it doesn't evolve because it's replaced by AI, then you will lose your opportunity and you might be replaced by a bit of software that costs $200 a year even. All right, now, economic factors. Just the world changes. When there's recession, people want to save money. They want to splurge on things that make them happy. And often things change in the amount of money that gets put in. Look at the amount of money that's put into green issues nowadays, or the amount of investment that's going into AI. When that happens, less goes into maybe bricks and mortar or normal straight businesses. You know, how many people are spending money and investing it into graphic design as opposed to a year ago when graphic designers could charge what they want? Now I can get pictures made up using AI in seconds that look amazing. That would have cost me a lot of money. I'm not knocking graphic designers or artists. I think they're very important, but they need to integrate and move with the flow so they get paid for bespoke designs, but we can also churn out really effective ones because they know what they're looking for. So can anybody else. Hands-on experience is always super important. I talked about nursing there and being a doctor. In fact, to be honest with you, in many cases, doctors will be replaced by AI with robo-doctor and so on. But nurses will never be replaced. Why? Because somebody's got to put the bandages on. Somebody's got to check your temperature and make sure that you're okay. Somebody's got to sit by your bedside and tell you you're all right. And that can't be replaced by a robot. It just doesn't work the same way. Try talking to your phone. Hello, Siri? Nothing. All right. Next up, shift in work culture. That's always going to be a factor. People going into work, people coming out of work, people wanting to be online, people staying in their own house and working from there. All this different stuff makes for a big change, and that's why the demand in jobs alters. And also limited networking. People don't like to go out and connect. You must do. You must go out and meet friends and swap business cards or digital business cards, getting your iPhone and tapping it to another iPhone, and then it instantly sends all the details across like magic to your phone, or you break the screen, in which case you tap far too hard, and you'll have to pay about another $1,000 to stop that person from punching you in the phone. All right, next there was this, outdated job search skills. So you're going, right, old school. No, old school doesn't matter. Old evolved school matters. AI plus old job is what you're looking for in everything that you do. And lack of personal branding. Why is that so important? Well, if people don't know who you are, people don't know that you're an expert at something, how are they going to turn around and believe that in the new job market, with the new skills that are available, you're actually as credible as you say you are? They need to find evidence, they need to find proof. On your LinkedIn is one place, but more than that, we're going to be talking about that in a few moments' time to a short degree. I'm not going to talk about it too much. I'll do that in the next episode about your omni-channel. They need to find who you are wherever they're looking. There should be little fishing nets that catch them. They go, this person's name keeps coming up. Their personal brand is very strong, just like the force. And institutional factors, things are already embedded. The world changes down to a small group of organizations that decide that this is what they're aiming at. Think about Google. Think about Microsoft. Think about OpenAI. Well, Microsoft is OpenAI, to be honest with you. Think about Twitter and X and Meta. How important, how influential are these organizations in the way that you choose to do things? How important is Apple and its new shift in technology towards the way that you run your business? There's a small group of organizations run by a small group of people who are very, very important to the way that we shift. You have to also do the same with your organization and the way that you think. And also, as we're looking at all these different things, I would say that of the list that I showed you earlier, which seems like a million years ago, I would say 50% of that list is wrong, because those skills that you have there are dominated by one thing. If you can't communicate, you could be replaced by AI, as I've been saying. But if you can communicate, you find yourself in a position where all those 10 things I mentioned earlier, you should be able to enjoy them and do really well at them because you can talk about them. You don't necessarily have to be an expert, but you have to be an expert at communicating what it is doing. Did you know that most of the black boxes that are out there doing all the AI stuff, when you ask the people who programmed them, how did it come up with that particular choice? They go, which is not just a Scooby-Doo noise. They actually don't know, because AI is learning, generative AI is learning all the time. And so what they set up as a way for it to start getting its strategy and algorithm evolves as it learns from itself and outside factors. So it almost becomes like a living, breathing thing. In many cases, it may well be, and we're not telling us, conspiracy theory that nobody's surprised about. All right, next up is this. Your voice is your fortune. But when I talk about your voice, I had an amazing conversation, actually, with, who was it? It was Chris Gardner, the guy who wrote The Pursuit of Happiness. Remember the Will Smith movie, where he's with his son and they're locked in a toilet and they're homeless, and he becomes a great salesman, becomes a millionaire? He's my mate, right? So we're chatting about the whole point about speaking, and I'm a real believer that when people talk about public speaking, it's a wrong phrase. It's a wrong phrase. Nathan Chan and I were talking about this as well. People think I can't do public speaking, so I'm rubbish and I'm never going to be able to do anything. Public speaking is just one part of the whole picture about your ability to communicate, and it starts inside here, not inside Dave's head or his finger, inside your head. You need to find your internal voice first, because your voice is what drives your fortune. Once you've got that, you can then communicate with people on lots of different levels. It's not just about your ability to stand in front of an audience and do public speaking. Yes, there's a lot to be said for that. When you get it right, it's really effective, and when you get it right, it can look a little bit like this.
My name is Dave Crane. We've never had a time where so many people feel so lonely, so isolated.
What happens with success is very simple. You have a change to make. You have an event you have to prepare for. You work really hard or you don't work really hard towards that event. And then the event happens. After the event, it could be a driving test, it could be a job interview, it could be a relationship. You get a result. The result might be good, the result might be bad, but it's just a result. It's not a failure, it's just a result. Now, what most people don't do is ask for feedback. They don't ask to see what they could have done to change it. When you do ask, you can learn how to change the game. So therefore, you have never failed. All that's happened is you did something and you didn't get the result you want. You can go back and do it again, or say, you know what? I'm going to do something different.
So that's talking about public speaking. Now, that was the old way people would see about your voice, but the voice isn't just the only thing you've got. What goes on inside your head. So I'm going to introduce to you a concept you may not know about. This is omni-voice and omni-channels. Just a little teaser about it today. Omni-voice, discovering your omni-voice. What is that? That's your ability to cover lots of different things by what goes on in your head. Understanding the way you think about stuff, hearing that voice inside your head and translating it into what might be a book or whatever it would be. But you need to be able to control that. That's your omni voice. It's something that gets translatable in print, in podcast, on stage, in diagrams, in coding. It's your omni voice. So think about that. That's your homework for today. And this is actually what I'm launching in our WhatsApp group. And I'll give you the details to join our WhatsApp group shortly after this. What is it that your voice sounds like when you think about things and you've got that voice for yourself going, don't do it like this or do it like that? What about that? And you see things, especially when you're at work and it goes, oh, I wouldn't do it that way, I'd do it this way. And maybe if you had that in contact, that voice is super important and it's trained for many, many years. But the problem that you've got with public speaking is how do you get that voice out to people? Most people don't know how to do it. They feel embarrassed, or they're going to make fools of themselves, or they're going to stutter, or their brain goes empty, and they're going to just be silent. That's why most people have a problem with public speaking, but that is not what your voice problem is. Your voice is something completely different. Let's move on. Designing your omni-channel. We'll talk about this in more depth and detail in our next podcast. Designing your omni-channel means this. It means looking at what you're brilliant at doing, working out your inner voice, and then deciding the most effective ways to get it out to your audience. So they can read a book, or they can see your podcast, or they can catch your video channel, or they can see your social media posts, or they can catch you at a meetup. Maybe what you do is you do one-to-ones with people and you coach them, but you need to make sure that they know you're the person that they should be paying for. So there's a number of different things that you find that you start off with your inner voice. We'll be talking about that in more depth. Are you with me so far? So your omni voice and your omni channels will help drive that list of the top 10 demand skills. Because when you need people to say that you're the person that they should be connected to, once you've got your omni voice, what goes on inside your head, and you've got your channels to share it with people, they will instantly be able to find who it is they need to connect with, and they will hire you and they'll pay you, and will work very quickly on that because nobody else will have their act together. Why is that? Because they're not watching this show and they'll never find out. Ha ha ha! Evil laugh. Dr. Evil laugh. Not quite as good as his. All right. So we've talked about the 10 most important skills of 2024, and we've talked about what you need them. You need to prove that you are worth it. That's a bottom line. Even if you're not an expert on sustainability, your ability to interpret what other experts are saying makes you an expert. Information is everywhere. But your ability to say, I know how to tell you that, I'm going to put a post together online, or I'm going to talk about it as a keynote, or I'm going to do a podcast on it by interviewing people who are experts on sustainability. That puts you in the expert league. In the old days, it was called being a journalist, but people don't often get paid to be a journalist anymore because everyone's a citizen's journalist doing their own posts. But that skill is still as important as it was years ago, if not more. And also the great thing is by doing it, you create your legacy in real time as you're learning to use all these incredible skills. I run a thing which is a thought leader program. It's an accelerator called the Industry Icon Program. This is what helps people to create their legacy. I've talked about it at length, but if you want to be seen as an industry icon, then it's very simple. What you have to do is concentrate on what makes you brilliant at what it is that you do. All the things you've done your entire life, they're all there. You have to work on which ones are the most relevant to put your brand out there into the market. When you get it right, this is what happens. Your legacy is worth a fortune. Now have a look at this. This is about your voice being all that you can be. You can run membership sites. You can be paid as a consultant and also able to disrupt organizations at a moment's notice because they need to know how to get up to speed and be really effective in the game. You can monetize your podcasts. You can be an ambassador for organizations and paid to wear their stuff or talk about their stuff. You can organize events for people who are interested in knowing more about it. You can mentor, you can coach, write a book on it. You can also, there's so many different things that are all part of your legacy, which all lead back to being a master of those skills, the top 10 demanded skills. All these things can come to you when you understand what your omni-voice is, your omni-channel, and you start building and positioning yourself as a thought leader. I hope this makes sense. Let's go through those projects again. You need to consider your personal brand, first of all, then also consider your ability to do public speaking. Attracting fans and followers under all the different omni-channel that you have. Overcoming imposter syndrome, which is probably making you go, yeah, but I can't do it, Dave. Yes, you can. Everyone can do it. Trust me. Launching a podcast and TV show, creating content that influences people about your knowledge of those in-demand skills. You don't need all of them. Choose one that makes you brilliant. Then you need to be able to write courses and write books on the subject to position yourself really well, organizing events and going to retreats that maybe somebody else is organizing. I speak a lot at conferences. I didn't organize the conferences. They look for somebody who's a speaker or a moderator or a host who knows the subject really well, and that's why they call me. You can monetize your expertise easily when you're positioned really well because people will want to pay for you. Remember the factor of what people pay for. There's two things that they pay for. Ultimately, you get paid for doing two things. First of all, the effect of what you do. And secondly, how cheaply you can be replaced by somebody else. Does that make sense? The impact of what it is you do and whether they can replace you with somebody else. If they can't replace you with somebody else, then they'll pay full whack for you because they've got no choice. That's what you need to concentrate on. So monetizing your expertise, and the final part here is creating your legacy, as I've mentioned earlier. Creating your legacy has all these things put in together, but the great thing is, if you do it now, you get paid now. It's not something that lives after you've gone and people go, oh, what a shame, we didn't know what a genius that person was. You can get experience now and get paid now for your skills now and become unsackable and unstoppable. Yes? Good. All right. So if you want to speed up that whole process, let me tell you about the Personal Branding Accelerator Program. It will teach you a ton of different skill sets and you can get access to it right now. I'll tell you the details. I'll put the details actually into the comments section. This is a Personal Branding Accelerator Program. If you're a decision maker who's worried you're wasting time missing out on great clients or even losing money, you can fix it immediately with the Personal Branding Accelerator Program. I help game changers like you build a personal and business brand that automatically attracts clients who want to invest in you. Imagine waking up and feeling unstoppable because your ideas turn into dollars every time. Get booked onto podcasts, master LinkedIn, and attract clients immediately with the Personal Branding Accelerator Program and discover the future successes you deserve right now. So there you go. It's got 5 different modules covering LinkedIn, covering communication skills, personal branding, getting to be a guest on other people's podcasts, and also getting over imposter syndrome. Go to Speak on Stage right now and you can get access to that. Right, I'm just about done with the show. I could show you more, but I'm not going to. If you want more, contact me directly. Dave, I was asking you questions. In fact, you got questions. Ask me now, and I can come back over them. My voice went a bit high. I'm sorry about that. I get excited. I love what I do. It's easy. You're going, it's not easy. Once you work with me, it is easy. But if you want to know more about it, just contact me. In fact, join our WhatsApp group. Very simple. Join my WhatsApp group. It's completely free. My programs aren't, but this one is. Okay? And all you need to do is join my Turbocharge Your Career 5-day challenge. We're in the middle of a challenge just starting now. You can ask any of the questions to me or anybody in the group. There's over 400 people in there. Well, not quite. There's 370 plus. But there'll be over 400 by the time we finish this next challenge. And this is how you do it. Very simple. Just get your phone, get the QR code, or go to https ://bit.ly bit.ly turbo career challenge. I've just realized now, if you're listening to this on a podcast, you've got no idea about the QR code and you're probably really annoyed. So let me say this to you properly. https ://bit.ly /turbo career challenge, one word. That's https ://bit.ly, which is ly, /turbo career challenge, one word. Forgot about the podcasters. Sorry, you might have missed out on a lot of stuff which I was talking about and being visual about. And you're thinking, Dave, we can't see nothing. Well, maybe you should have watched the visual podcast. If you go to Spotify, this whole video is there. And if you're driving, don't watch it, because that's really bad for the other people on the road and the people in the back of your car saying, stop watching Dave on the phone. Drive properly. I was going to say a bad word there. I had to hold it in. I tried to find a good word. There are no good words without offending somebody. So that's it for today's show. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got lots out of it. As always, it's a complete pleasure to spend this quality time with you. If you've got any questions, let me know. As always, follow what we're doing. Get into our turbo career. Did you enjoy all the stuff that we did with the Black Friday? We had a whole deal week, and lots of people bought stuff, and they're working with me right now, and it's very exciting. If you missed out on it, but we may do something in time for Christmas, New Year. And my book's coming out soon. Lots of amazing things. But meanwhile, look after yourself. That's the end of today's podcast. Stay groovy. It's a pleasure having you with me. I look forward to talking to you and sharing lots of cool stuff in the future. Just make sure you connect with me once again. This is Speak on Stage.